Hello and welcome to Bold Women Lawyers Spotlight. I'm really glad you're here today because we're talking about money, money, money. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sharon Christie. I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for a long time. I spent 16 years having my own solo law firm. And before that, for just as long, I was a partner in a small PI and med mal firm. And now I am a business strategist and business coach for lawyers in solo and small law firms. So I can help you if you are having challenges and struggles in getting your law firm going in the direction you want it to go and you need it to go. And today we're going to talk about money. Now, we all want it, but you know what? We don't want to talk about it. But today we're going to talk about it. I'm going to state the obvious, which everybody knows. If your law firm isn't making money, it will fail. Now, we all know that. That's no big revelation. But notice that what I didn't say was that your law firm is only about making money, because it's not. It's about a lot more than that. But making money has to be a major component of what you're doing as the owner of your own law firm, because otherwise, as I said, it will fail. And yet what I have found in working with clients, in working with my lawyers is, and this was very true for me at one point in my career, many law firm owners, particularly women, are very reluctant to discuss money. They just don't want to talk about it. There's many reasons. There's more than I could even go into today, but I'm going to talk about the major reasons that I've seen in the work that I do. So why do people feel this way? Don't want to talk about it. Some people believe that they are bad at handling money. They don't handle it well. They're bad with money. Some people believe that money really is the root of all evil, and they even feel badly about making money. Some people think they're a bad lawyer because their law firm or for their personal income, they're not making mid six figures or high six figures or seven figures or whatever your number is. We all have that number that we think is a sign of a successful lawyer. And if you're not making that number, many times you feel like, I'm just not a good lawyer. You might be comparing yourselves to those lawyers that you are convinced are rolling in money. It may be because of the clothes that they wear, the car that they drive, where they go on vacation. It doesn't really matter why you think that. You are convinced that they are rolling in money, and you're comparing yourself to them and what they have, and you feel like you're a failure. Now, you have no idea what their financial statements look like, but you still make the comparisons. You may fear judgment. You fear the judgment of others if you're not making enough money, however much that might be. Or maybe the opposite is true. You fear the judgment of others, particularly spouses, partners, significant others, if you make too much money. So you don't want to talk about the money. But you need to understand this. These beliefs, and the beliefs that I spoke about were the negative beliefs. You know, you certainly have some positive beliefs about money, but I want to focus on the negative ones because they have negative consequences for you and for your law firm, for your law business. So let's focus on the business side of things. If you're reluctant to discuss money, what I have found is that usually means you're reluctant to look at the money. You're reluctant to look at your numbers. You'd rather take the ostrich approach. You stick your head in the sand and you just say, you know what? This is all going to work out. It's all going to work out eventually. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. It will work out. I'm here to tell you it won't work out. at least not on its own. It won't work out unless you become proactive and you start taking steps, not only to learning your numbers, to understand your numbers, and to know what the numbers are telling you in terms of how you run your business. But let's look at what happens if you take the ostrich approach. Well, I've talked about your numbers. You don't know them, but your numbers are the keys to your financial success. And how do I know? Well, because believe me, I was an ostrich when I first started my solo law firm. I was so busy doing the work I had brought with me when I opened the firm to keep money rolling in, to keep a cash flow going. And then I wanted to develop an entirely new area of practice. For me, it was disability law. And that's what I really ultimately wanted to do so that I could stop doing all the PI work and focus totally on disability. So I was completely focused on building and growing that practice. But I was not focused on the numbers. So, it was an ostrich approach. I had a bill to pay. You look at the bank account. Okay, let's pay the bill today. I can pay it. There might be something that I need. It could be a book. It could be a course. It could be some technology. Look at the bank account. Is there enough money there? Can I afford it today? Okay. Either a yes, I can, or no, I can't. But there was no forward thinking, as you can tell, in that approach. It was more of a day-to-day approach. So what's the result of that? Because I wasn't focused on what the actual numbers were in the short-term and long-term perspective. So what's the result of that? Well, I can tell you that I overspent on a lot of things, like a website, like lead services that were going to send me great streams of great clients, right? We've all heard that pitch. Those services are very expensive. Websites can be very expensive, but I was looking for the quick fix. I was looking for what can I do right now and they're going to get me clients tomorrow, because I knew that I needed the clients obviously to have cash flow. But I was looking for the quick fix. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you don't already know this, there is no quick fix out there. A website on its own is not going to get you great clients. There's other work that needs to be done. The website can be a component of it, but in and of itself, it's not going to get you great clients. And you don't have to spend a fortune on a website. The lead services, I more than once put money into that. In more than just my solo firm, we had done it in the small firm that I was a partner in too. And it was hopeful, you do it hopefully, like this is going to answer my problem. This is going to get me what I want. And it doesn't, and it didn't. But it didn't because I didn't do the work that I needed to do. Maybe there was one of these leads services out there that would have worked for my business, but I didn't take the time to investigate it enough. I didn't get the references I need. I didn't find out exactly how it worked. How often could I expect to get a referral? What happened if there were bad referrals? I never figured out, based on what I was being told, what would be the cost per referral? Was that going to be a good return on investment if it turned out that was what I was getting from the service? I didn't do any of that. I just took the ostrich approach, put my head in the sand and said, I hope this is going to work out. But it didn't. It didn't. I sort of joke, but it's true with these lead services. WeMakeYouRich.com. That's sort of what you think they are. They're not going to make you rich. You've got to do the work necessary to build up your own client base for your specialty area and for your law firm. And that's a whole different discussion for a different program. But just understand there is no quick fix. And so if you get caught up in that idea of thinking, I just need help now, a quick fix, that's a sign to yourself to step back before you start sending any money to anybody. Okay. So, what was the result for me when I was not being intentional about the spending on my business? And when I say intentional, what I mean is this: when I did not understand what the numbers were, when I did not understand well enough what the amount of money was I needed to break even every month, when I did not understand projections and realistically making projections about income, about expenses, etc. I didn't understand that. I was just looking for these quick fixes. Well, I dug myself a financial hole because I wasn't watching the numbers. So, what am I talking about? What numbers? Certainly, monthly fixed expenses. So, you have expenses that you get billed for every month, but you also have those yearly expenses like malpractice insurance, for example, or workers' comp insurance. And so you take those numbers and you divide them by 12, right? And you add up all the other numbers that are monthly, and you come up with your, monthly costs, your fixed costs. And so this is the amount, of course, that you have to make every month to break even. I wasn't looking at monthly revenue. I wasn't making realistic projections. I hadn't looked at all at my average case value. I look back on it now and think, are you kidding? What was I thinking or not thinking? But I wasn't looking at all at the average case value, nor was I looking at the average case expenses. Now, for contingent fee lawyers, and you know who you are out there, this is incredibly expensive because this is incredibly important because if you don't win, you are not going to recoup those expenses. So I really wasn't looking at those. I wasn't looking closely enough at the average length of a case. Now that's very important, again, particularly if you're contingent fee. But for me to know if the case starts today, how long is it going to take, most likely, to get paid, assuming I win? If it's a monthly billing situation, well, how long can you count on this case for those monthly bills to be paid? To most cases, take 6 months, 9 months, a year, whatever it might be. And as I said before, I was not able to make realistic projections of revenue and income because I didn't know the numbers. So what happened? I got smart. I hired a bookkeeper because I didn't know how to keep these books. You might be an accountant. You might be great at that. I'm not sure I would even then recommend that you do it yourself, but I knew that I was not good at it. I needed help. So I hired a bookkeeper. We reviewed my historic expenses. I determined what the yearly expenses were, divided it by 12 so I could get my monthly fixed costs. My bookkeeper and I reviewed every week, money in, money out, what was coming up, both in expense and income projections. We reviewed this on an ongoing basis. I knew those numbers by heart. I scrutinized everything that came in. I scrutinized every bill that came in to make sure, well, first of all, particularly if it was on a credit card, to make sure it was a valid charge, but to make sure that it made sense. Then I spent time digging into my cases, my case list, to determine, what is my average case value? What's the average length of time that each case takes? So I started to be able to develop those numbers. And then once I did that work, I could start to make reasonable projections of revenue. Because until then, if you don't know what your average case value is, you don't know the average length of your case. And of course, you don't know how many cases are coming in. If you're not tracking that well, you can't make any projections at all. So then I could start to see trends in revenue, up or down. I could look at my revenue and profit growth year over year, quarter over quarter, month over month. I could look and see when, looking at these trends, do I need more cases? Are my expenses too high? When do I need to make business changes? And I could do it on an informed basis. At that point, then I became a lot calmer about the financial side of the business and much more confident. At that point, I was really acting like the CEO of my business, which is how you need to act. So, those were some steps that I took that helped me to stop being afraid to talk about money. What can you do? Well, I have some action steps and a challenge. So, the first thing I would recommend is that you take some time to uncover what are your money beliefs, both good and bad. A lot of people, including myself, like to journal about it, but you do what works for you. Make a list. What are your positive thoughts about money in your business? What are your negative thoughts? And here's my challenge. When you identify those negative thoughts, I want you to look for the evidence that shows those negative thoughts are not true. So I'll give you my example for myself. I believe that I was very bad at handling money. And what did I do? Well, I went back and I looked. I looked at the good decisions that I made. It was not, did I make some bad decisions? Sure, we all have. But I looked at the good decisions I was making. And so I could change that thought pattern of, I'm really bad at handling money, to this. I am good at making intentional money decisions. That's a very different perspective. You can do that for yourself too, but you have to start by uncovering what your beliefs are that you hold right now. Once you've done that, get some help. Get a bookkeeper, get somebody to make sure your books are set up right, and somebody you feel comfortable with, and look at your numbers regularly. Don't be afraid to look at them. I mean, there were some months when my numbers were really scary, not in a good way. But I needed to know that so that I could make good business decisions about what to do next. Don't be afraid to look at your numbers. Look at them regularly, get to know them. You will know them by heart, like I did, when I was running my law firm. Get to know those numbers. They can actually be your friend. And boy, you're going to be really happy when you start seeing all the positives coming up. That's the second thing you can do. The third thing is do a yearly audit of your expenses. One of the things that I found was happening was there were things that I had joined, groups that I had joined that I thought would be good for business, even some bar associations that I, had joined. And I wasn't getting anything out of the groups, or I wasn't active at all in the bar associations. Now, I'm a firm believer that you should join bar associations, and more than one. But it's not doing you any good if you're not active in it. Just sending in your dues every year, it's great. It supports your professional association, but it's not helping your business. Get active in those groups and associations that you belong to. And once you get active, then you can make a reasonable determination as to whether it's worth it or not. Is it a good return on investment? Not just in terms of business, but in terms of your professional growth. But you can't do that if you're not paying attention. So once a year, I sat down and looked at all of those categories of expenses and figured out what was a good investment and what wasn't. And there were a lot of things that, you know this because I'm sure it's happened to you. You have these subscriptions going and you're just not even thinking about it anymore. You're just paying it every year and okay, yeah, I subscribe to this, that, and the other thing. And you're not paying any attention. So now it's time to start to pay attention because you can get rid of a lot of unnecessary expenses. So those are 3 action steps I think you can put in place that will really help you and will help you overcome your reluctance to talk about money. Running a solo or small law firm is fun, it's exciting, and it's a lot of work. You're the CEO of your business, and knowing your numbers is what you need so that you can make informed decisions about the future of your law firm. I hope you found today's tips helpful. If you did, go to my website, boldwomenlawyers.com, and download my solo practice success guide. Now, it really does apply to solo and small firms. That just was a little wordy, so that got cut out of the title. But download it. You're going to find tips in there about mindset, about marketing, and about management, including the financial management, that will also be helpful. And if you need help with your business, I'm there for that too. Schedule a clarity call. Let's talk about what's going on in your business and see if it makes sense for us to work together. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to talking to you the next time.